Hi everyone, I'm Leanne Young, co-founder of ASCD's Student Growth Center and co-developer of GoalWorks. In this video, I'll be giving you an overview of the GoalWorks platform. Before I do that, here's my contact information. Our website is at studentgrowth.org. My email address is young@studentgrowth.org, and I'm on Twitter at Leanne Young. When you browse to our site, studentgrowth.org, you see the home page, and to log into GoalWorks, you click on GoalWorks and go all the way to the bottom to GoalWorks Login. You'll have credentials to log in to see a group of sample students. When a teacher logs in, when a school has GoalWorks and a teacher logs in, or a parent logs in, that person is then only able to see the students that they're allowed to see. This will be important from a legal standpoint for those schools who are interested in GoalWorks for their IEPs. Because of the rights of confidentiality. When you log in, you see the students you're allowed to see, and we'll have a group of sample students that will pop up. And I'm going to search for book because those are the students that you'll be able to see in the demo account. So when you log in, you see the students you're allowed to see, any photo that's been uploaded as the student's profile, their grade, their school, what your role is. So there are different categories. So a person can be a case manager, a teacher, a parent, or a student, and all of those people have different permissions in terms of whether they can add goals, delete goals, add data, not add data, and so forth. We can see at a glance whether the student is on track to meet the annual goals. So we can see that Carmen is on track to meet all annual goals. It looks like Carter is on track to meet 2/3 of his annual goals. Maggie is on track to meet all of hers, and Danielle's not on track to meet any of hers. So that's what that glance, this overview gives you. Over here at the right, you're able to transfer the student to a new case manager. So the case manager is the person who has the right to transfer a student. So if a student moves to a different case manager or to a different school, you're able to do that. If the receiving school does not have GoalWorks, you are able to extract your data and send the data along anyway to the new school. Schools always own their data and have the right to extract that. Below that list of students is a list of goals that the person logging in is attached to. We recently had a school say, you know, it's hard for me to figure out where I need to go take data because I need to click on each student and see if there is a goal that I'm responsible for. So we reconfigured it so that people are attached to individual goals, and they can see at this glance here at this page whether they need to take data. All right, so let's take a look at an individual student so you can get a better idea of how this works. So if I click on Carmen, what I see first is Carmen's profile. I can add a picture for Carmen. I see what grade she's in, identifying information. If there is other, if a district wants to purchase this, or even if a school wants to purchase GoalWorks, we can add other fields if there are other fields that are important to them. We have a profile, short profile about Carmen here. Below Carmen's profile, we see the list of team members. And so we can see that I'm the case manager, and I can add additional team members. So I can add everyone who's on Carmen's IEP team, or if she doesn't have an IEP, I can add anyone who we want to add who's a part of the team in planning for her interventions. And I can take team members off, and I can click here to email all of the team members. We'll come back to the graphs here in a minute. Below the graphs, we see a place for threaded conversation. So this works just the way any threaded discussion board would work. But what it allows is a place for the IEP team or educational team to have conversations about the students and the students' goals in a FERPA compliant manner. In other words, this keeps private conversations that might disclose disability status out of private email servers off of phones where people may be texting, and gives teachers a place to have sensitive conversations in a private manner. Below Team Conversations is a place where teams can upload any additional files that they would like to have attached to the student. When we go back to the top, we see where the goals, progress on each of the goals has been graphed. We can see that Carmen has 3 goals. This paragraph writing is not it's the skill, it's not the goal. This is the skill. One thing that will be important as we talk to schools and districts about GoalWorks and what it has to offer is we know that the quality of IEP goals is poor. And you won't have any trouble convincing any administrator or any educator really that we're struggling with the quality of our goals. And we struggle also with progress monitoring and reporting. And in fact, there was a study a number of years ago that demonstrated that the area of Individuals with Disabilities Education Act of lowest compliance is in the area of progress monitoring and reporting. So administrators will understand this. They'll understand that this is an urgent area of concern. We also know that even once we have a goal in place, even if it appears to be measurable, it's often not. And so GoalWorks solves this issue. A lot of other programs out there that are geared to helping people write IEPs, they have a drop-down menu of goals. And we're adamant that we're never going to have a goal bank because this takes away our ability to individualize a goal. You just select a goal. It's not the same as writing a goal that was made custom for that student and that student's needs. So the problem is with goal banks, you end up with a solid measurable goal, but it's not individualized. But if you leave it completely open, we end up with goals that aren't measurable. They're individualized, but they aren't measurable. And so by using what the literature calls goal attainment scaling, we've solved this issue with GoalWorks. If we click on any of the icons next to the skill area, we see the growth plan that is behind that goal. A growth plan is a supporting document that allows us to outline the specific strategies that we'll use and gives us a way to measure progress on IEP or other educational goals. This is not normally found within an IEP. There's a different way that I teach people to write goals. Rather than starting with writing the goal, we first start with the skill area, which is paragraph writing. Then we say in which settings do we want to see paragraph writing occur, because we don't only want to see the skill happen in or with a special education teacher, and we don't necessarily only want to see it within the obvious subject area. When we're picking critical skills like writing, like problem solving, like certain behaviors, like math skills, we want to see those skills, reading, we want to see them across the curriculum. And so we have a place over here to select up to 4 settings where we want to see the skill occur. And below that, we can add team members to those settings. So if I'm the language arts teacher, I would get added to the language arts setting, which is A. On our data map, everything that happened in language arts is in this A column. Everything that happened in social studies is in this B column. And I'll explain how we got those scores in just a bit. Once we determine the skill that we want to work on and the settings in which we want to see it, we write the scale. This scale is truly an innovative part of GoalWorks that we've not seen used by any other program. In fact, teachers who are taking data, they're most of the time taking data on sheets of paper on teacher-made data sheets. And everyone would be able to tell you that most of these are of very poor quality. And even if they make perfect sense to the person who designed the data sheet, it's often not able to be interpreted by families or other people on the team. And so the goal attainment scale that's a part of GoalWorks It took so many iterations of this over several years to arrive at something that looks incredibly simple, but we went through a number of iterations of having a scale for each benchmark and so forth. And now what we have is a 9-point scale. There are 9 points on the scale because there are 9 months in the academic year. And so this scale, inherent within this scale, is an expectation of rate of progress. So we expect a student to move 1 block per month. The 0, the gray block, is baseline. That's where the student started. And so we ask teams to describe exactly how does it look now? How does the student's performance on this skill look now? And they write a description. We then ask them to describe how would it look at the end of a year if we were successful with our interventions. And they describe this. And then they pick 3 points in between. You'll notice that we don't define all 9 points on the scale. This is for efficiency and is also consistent with survey research in which you've certainly completed Likert scale type surveys, and there are words for every other number. This is called anchoring in survey research. So we use goal attainment scaling and anchoring to provide a scaffold for educators and teams to develop their measure. Once they determine their measure, they use the 4, what they wrote for the 4, to complete writing their goal, to write the criteria for success. Below the goal attainment scale are the strategies. So this is where all of the great ideas that come up at an IEP meeting go, or if a student doesn't have an IEP, at another educational team meeting. So often fantastic ideas come up, but they don't make it onto the IEP because it's too much detail. And many times we drift away from using them and don't use them to fidelity, and the information doesn't get to all the other people on the team who weren't a part of the meeting. So this is a place where that information goes. Below the strategies are the progress notes. In the progress notes section, we can write anecdotal notes about how the student performed. Let's say the student performed very poorly one day, but we think it's because she was sick. That's a good time to write an anecdotal note, so we can add additional information. We can also upload samples of student work. So for writing, I can click on upload, and then I can select a file. I could walk around the room with my phone or iPad, snap a picture of the student's work, and upload it here. And in this way, when it's time to have the IEP meeting or other annual review meeting, I have a data map I can see, I have samples of work that I can see, and this really focuses the meetings. And what teachers are telling us who are using this is it really focuses the IEP meeting on data and how to use those data to improve instruction. When it is time to take data, the team member clicks here on Add Data, and this adds a row in the data map. And whichever row or whichever cell that person is responsible for completing, that person clicks. So I would say, oh, Carmen, she didn't make any errors today, so that's a 4. And then I would click the green check mark, and then that color codes, it completes the cell with a 4 and color codes it purple. We can then scroll over to see who took data. We can see for any of these points who took data, and we added this feature after that cell was completed, which is why you can't see it. But now that the feature's been added, any data that's added since that time, you can see who added the data point. Not everybody entered data on every day, and we didn't enter data every single day. But even with entering data on some days, and some people entering data on some days, we begin to see a really nice map of how the student's progressing. Not only do we see how the student's progressing overall, but we're also able to see disaggregated by setting. So it may be that Carmen progressed really quickly. She did progress more quickly in social studies than the other areas, and slightly more. But if that had been the case, we might want to ask why. Why is she not performing well in whatever setting? Maybe it's that she doesn't like it. Maybe it's too challenging. Maybe the intervention isn't being implemented to fidelity in that setting. So it doesn't necessarily answer the questions for us, but it provides us with information to make good decisions. If we go back to Carmen's goal page, we also see the option to create a report. And if I click on report, when it's time for report cards and progress notes to go home, I click on report, and this generates a PDF. And that PDF includes the goals, the strategies, the graphs of progress, and so forth. If we look below each goal, we see the goal attainment scale numbers and colors. The one that is larger represents where she should be right now. If she's on track, it will say on track. If it's been met, it will say it's completed. If it were not on track, if Carmen were not on track, this would be red. This bar would be red to alert us that she was not on track to meet her goals. The points on the graph represent an average across settings for any given day. We never average across time. We only average on a single day across settings so we can see how she's progressing overall. So we have individual lines for individual settings, and then we have a thicker line to represent the average for each day. For each section, there's an icon that is a help text. So there's additional text that pops up when you click on that icon that gives a lot of the information that I've given you just now. To add a goal, we click here, and this allows teachers to add a new goal. They choose a category for the goal, and they choose the skill that they're working on. This is not where the actual goal goes. Once they move to the next screen is where they enter the actual goal. I look forward to giving you additional information on GoalWorks and answering your questions in an upcoming session soon.